Good morning, students. Today we are going to continue with the previous chapter that we are learning in the previous class, which was about the parallels and meridians, chapter number 8. And in this, we studied about how our earth, for a study purpose, is designed in the form of a globe, representing same like a earth, where we study about different places, different things that exist on the earth's surface on an outer scale. Then we studied about what are the different things or different parts that makes the study of globe more easier. In that, we went through the line of latitude, which is known as the parallel lines of latitude, and we studied that the earth is divided into two equal parts. One is the northern hemisphere, then the southern hemisphere, with a line in the center which is known as the equator line or the great circle. These two names are same. Equator is also known as the great circle, which divides the earth into two equal halves, which is almost equal halves towards the upper part of the equator is known as the northern hemisphere, and the lower part of the equator is known as the southern hemisphere. There are about 181 imaginary lines of latitude that exist on the earth. Now today we are going to continue and study about the latitudes, more detail about the latitudes. Where we are going to know about the properties. We are going to know about the properties. So as I was telling you, we are going to learn about the properties of the parallel lines or the latitude. The first property is state about the length decreases. What does it mean? Is that the earth at the center, when the earth is at the center, I don't know whether it will be visible or not. The earth at the center is called equator, latitude line, equator. And as the line further moves from the center, this length becomes smaller, smaller, smaller. This is larger, again it will become smaller, smaller, smaller. So as it moves from the equator, the line moves from the center of the equator. If this is the equatorial line in the center, if the line moves away from the center, the length of the line becomes smaller and smaller towards the end of the earth. The second is they never meet at each other. As I told you, each and every line that moves are parallel to each other. So these two lines, these two different lines, they never meet at each other. The third one runs from east to west. So line runs from east to west. This is the direction of the line that runs from east to western part of India, that is straight, flat. So these three are important properties which states about the latitudes or the lines of latitude. The next is about the numbers of the latitude. Numbering means what are the important degrees or important numerical importance of the latitude lines. You can call it as numbering of latitude. It's called numbering of latitude. Now here it states that, as I have told you, the important thing is equator, which is where at 0 degree in the center of the earth. So it states to be in the 0 degree point, and it has the latitudes in total is extended from 0 degree to 90 degree. It extends from 0 degree to 90 degree, and each of these lines are parallel to each other. Now, according to the location, if you see, as I earlier told you, Earth, they have two important hemispheres. One is the northern part. This is known as the northern hemisphere, and another one is the southern part. This is known as the southern hemisphere. The two equal halves. The upper part is known as the northern hemisphere, and the lower part is known as the southern hemisphere. Now, each of them, the Earth has two important poles, which is known as the North Pole and the South Pole, which is denoted by letter N, and South Pole is denoted by letter S. So it has one North Pole and the South Pole on both the ends, upper and the lower, that is on the northern part and on the southern part. The North Pole is at the 90 degree. It is known as the 90 degree north, and the South Pole is also known as the 90 degree south, which is denoted as 90 degree S, that is 90 degree south. So North Pole, which is denoted by the letter N, and the South Pole, which is denoted by the letter S. North Pole stands to be in 90 degree north, and South Pole stands to be in 90 degree south. There are almost around 90 degrees of different kind of lines. Why it is 90 degree? Because North Pole and South Pole denote 90 degree. For example, this is equator. If this is equator, which is at 0 degree, you will find 90 parallel lines, smaller and larger, 90 different lines of parallel lines here, and equally 90 here lines in the southern part. So 90 lines, parallel lines on the northern hemisphere, and 90 parallel lines on the southern hemisphere, excluding the line of equator. So that is why it is regarded in total that there are 181 lines. In total there are 181 line, and each of this line from each other is departed. For example, if this is equator and this is another one line of latitude, between them there is a gap of 1 degree. There is a gap of 1 single degree. That is why each and every 1 degree gap there are different lines of latitude, and that is why total there are 90 divided into 90. And on the southern hemisphere also the same calculation is taken. That is why total we have 181 lines of latitude. So which is very important to be understood. Again I am explaining you. The whole globe, in the center there is line of equator. So what happens if it is there in the center? The upper part is known as the northern hemisphere, which also has a pole which is known as the northern pole. On the lower part of the equator is the southern hemisphere, the southern part. There are different lines, and it also has a pole which is known as the South Pole. On the northern hemisphere there are total 90 lines of latitude, and each of the lines of latitude have 1 degree gap. Same way on the southern hemisphere also there are 90 lines of latitude, and each of them have 1 degree of gap between them. As the lines here also 90 on the northern part, and the southern part also 90, plus one more line as equator line, the total lines of latitude is 90 plus 90, 180, and the line of equator 1, that is 181. So total there are 181 lines of latitude, having northern hemisphere pole and the southern hemisphere. The northern hemisphere has North Pole and the southern hemisphere has the South Pole. So in simple terms, this is the numbering details of the lines of latitude. Now the importance. What are the basic importance of these lines? What are the basic importance of these lines? Now these lines, now as we have known, there is 0 degree, there is 90 degree of North Pole, different latitudes, and 90 degree of South Pole, and there are 4 important parallels of lines which lies above. This has to be understood very carefully. Now this is globe. Okay, if this is globe, if I say that this is equator line, this is line of equator. This is standing at 0 degree. This is standing at 0 degree. There are important lines which is there in both sides, apart from these lines of latitude. 4 important lines. Now you will find above the tropic, above the tropical part, you will find 2 important lines. There are various different lines, but 2 very important lines are there. And below the equator, here also 2 important lines are there. And each of them stands to be in different degrees and different parts, or different points or degrees it is standing at. Now first of all, let us talk about the northern part. Here, this particular line is known as Tropic of Cancer. This particular line is known as the Tropic of Cancer, and it states, or it lies in the, this lies in the 23, almost 23 degree north. Means approximately, if you see, it is around 23 degree north. And if you see in exact numerical way, it is about 23.5 degree north you can consider. Same way as Tropic of Cancer is above the equator, just below the equator there is Tropic of Capricorn, which is around again 23.5 degree south. As this one is in the northern part, so it is denoted as northern, or N, 23.5 degree north. And Tropic of Capricorn lies on the southern part of the equator, so it is known as the 23.5 degree south. Now, above Tropic of Cancer, there is one more degree which is known as the Arctic Circle, which is approximately 63.5 degree north. These degrees are important to be understood. Why? Because students, it signifies, or it has its own importance, being at a particular distance from the one particular line of latitude. On the other hand, here it is the Antarctic and the lower side, that is just below the Tropic of Capricorn, lies the Antarctic Circle. So these are the 4 important lines of latitude, major important lines of latitude, which brings about lot of changes in various different things. Now these are the reasons mainly for the climatic, weather, forecasting, and other different changes that take place because of these lines, different lines. Again, I'll explain you once again. The center we have already known as the line of equator. Above the equator, on the northern part or the northern hemisphere, there are 2 important lines of latitude, and on the southern part there are another 2 important lines of latitude. Northern part, first one, just above the equator lies the Tropic of Cancer, which is in 23.5 degree north from the equator. Similarly, lower to the equator, that is southern hemisphere, there is line of that is known as Tropic of Capricorn, which lies 23.5 degree south. The another two, above Tropic of Cancer toward the northern hemisphere is the Arctic Circle, which is 66.5 degree north, and on the southern hemisphere just below the Tropic of Capricorn we have Antarctic Circle, which is again 66.5 degree south. So these are the four important parallel lines of latitude. There are various different, we have already studied that there were about 90 on the northern hemisphere and 90 lines on the southern hemisphere. But these are the 5 important lines which plays a very important role in various different aspects of the earth or the globe. So we'll stop today understanding about the lines of latitude. In our upcoming class, we are going to understand more about in details about the other part of the line, which is known as the longitude, which runs vertical from the earth. So this is all for today. In your homework details and other parts, it will be sent to you in your respective groups. Thank you very much.